Good morning, friends. Today I have been totally redirected. Under the readings, I set out yesterday what I thought I was going to talk about today. And in my retreat and in my vigil, other things rose. And what rose most of all was the sense of covenant. The largest thing that comes out from the Exodus is not the occupation of somebody else's land. It is the covenant. And I'm going to tell you about my covenant. My covenant holds me and says that no matter how much white fragility I may be going through, and no matter how much minority unhappiness may be coming through, I am in covenant with the Religious Society of Friends. My monthly meeting, my quarterly meeting, my yearly meeting, my beloved Friends Committee, Friends World Committee for Consultation, and French United Meeting, and Evangelical Friends. When I say I'm in covenant, and particularly at this time where we are in conflict, I don't remember Moses, I remember Jacob. Jacob is coming back from exile himself, back into his supposed land. He has a row with his brother, an old row. And before he meets his brother, again, before he asks for forgiveness from his brother, he actually has a fight. Some translations say an angel. The rabbis know it may be God. And one of the most beautiful things about this fight is that Jacob, exhausted, both beaten and not beaten, ends up coming up with, for me, the core of my covenant with the Religious Society of Friends. Jacob says, as he fights, Jacob says, I will not let you go until you bless me. I'm going to talk a little bit about pedagogical fragility. Those of you who are perplexed about the text, about the order of things, about what I'm saying, you're in the right place. This is perplexing. I told you I was going to talk about this. Well, that was the teacher. That was the syllabus planner, the white man that tells other people what to read. But I was told in retreat, I was told in vigil that I had to talk about the covenant. And that the covenant, for me, is a Quaker covenant, not something exclusively or primarily done with the Yahweh of the desert. But in the desert, I do find very specific moments where my Quaker covenant has started to be built. In Exodus 3:16, very early, very, very early, 3:16 and 4, God is talking to Moses and giving him the description, the job description. And very early on, he says, go and gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, blah, 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 blah. Go and gather the elders of Israel together and say to them. I thank God for my elders. The ones who are on duty right now, Angela Hopkins, Charles Finn, and Sarah Spencer. And Sarah Spencer also works with the back home elders, the members of my ministry accompaniment committee, the one my monthly meeting gave me. And that's Sarah Spencer and Bruce Hawkins and Matthew Schmidt. Thank you, monthly meeting, for the gift and the care. Now, when Moses starts balking, he says, I'm not ready for this. I'm not the one for the minister. By the way, that's something that we've done. And that's something that Jonah does. That's something, you know, he says, oh, my Lord, I'm not eloquent, neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, but I'm slow of speech. I'm slow of speech. I'm slow of speech. And slow of tongue. And people think that he's saying that he is, that he stutters. Kind of Joe Biden moment. And the scholars have convinced me that Moses' problem is that he's been told to go and talk to the elders of Israel together. And the scholars have convinced me that Moses' problem here, what he doesn't speak, what he's not eloquent in, it's actually Hebrew. He doesn't speak Hebrew well enough to take up leadership. How could he? He may have been with his mother, his Hebrew mother, until he was weaned, but then he went to palace, according to the narrative, and he grew up a young boy and an adolescent, which is language learning time, in court, talking Egyptian and not Hebrew. And so this is a minister who doesn't speak the language of the people that he's going to minister to. Boy, does that sound familiar. The big Quaker moment here comes when the Lord says to him, who has made man's mouth? You may remember Job at some point, but this is all about language. This is all about waiting for the message. Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes the mute, the deaf, the seeing, or the blind? Have not I, the Lord? Now, go. And I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say. That's a Quaker moment. Naylor lives it. Naylor lives it when he's plowing and he's struck by the calling and doesn't even stop at the gate of his house. He just goes, no clothes, no food, no preparation for the message. And there's when Naylor says, I wasn't worried. I left knowing that I was always going to know what to say because the Lord was going to give it to me. Later on, after the crossing of the Red Sea, already in the middle of the desert, already well into the dynamics of setting up a governance, Moses' father-in-law comes to visit and actually to bring Moses, his wife, and and his children. You haven't read this because it wasn't given to me to show it to you until last night. But notice the name of his children. Notice the name of Moses' children. Gershom. I have been a stranger in a foreign land. By the way, Moses named his child that, feeling a stranger as somebody who was from Egypt. And the name of the other son, the God of my father was my help and deliver me from the sword of Pharaoh. Now, the young leader Moses, maybe not so young, he's already in his 80s, who could tell? Actually has a little chat with his father-in-law. This is very dear to me. So I never had a chat like this with my father-in-law. And he explains what he's doing. He's sitting, he's judging, he's legislating, he's adjudicating, he's telling people what the law said, and the father-in-law says, what? Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you do is not good. The thing that you do is not good. How many clerks, how many elders, how many carriers of the monthly meeting and the yearly meeting need to be told this every now and then? The thing that you do is not good. Both your people and his people who are with you will surely wear yourself out. This thing's too much for you. You can't do it by yourself. Listen now to my voice, father-in-law says. And I will give you counsel, and God will be with you. Call leaders. Call other ministers. Set up the accompaniment of leadership. Grow the leadership. Prepare the people for the moment when you're not going to be the best leader, and the moment when you go, when you're not going to be with them anymore. If you get to the end of the story, when Moses is not allowed to get into the Holy Land, his goal, his career dream, you did a couple of things that were bad enough. I'm not going to let you. I actually don't focus, when I hear that, I don't focus so much on what Moses did. I actually focus a great deal on the fact that leadership had to be handed over. In our denomination, we are old. Glory be to God. The life we live is good enough for us to last. Glory be to God. But we hang out in leadership for much too long. And the youngins feel excluded, left behind. And here we have to figure out that a good ending for a life of leadership is just handing it over and trusting in the lives and the efforts of those who are coming behind us, coming along with us. In Numbers, this is deep into the governance also. This is at a moment when we have seen in the text more than one occasion, that one of those many things in the narrative that Quakers hate, when somebody does something like touch the tabernacle and whoop, off he goes. Somebody does the wrong job because the job belongs to somebody else. Whoop, whoop, off you go. Feels like Monty Python for those of you who remember. Gone. And there's violence, and there's killing of the ritually inept. Now here, after so many of those deaths, here, two men had remained in camp, and one named Eldad and the other one Medad, and the Spirit rested upon them. Now they were among those listed, but who had not gone out to the tabernacle. That's my Cuban drum telling me I gotta stop sometime, or I won't enter in there. Promise. And the Spirit rested upon them. Now they were among those listed, but who had not gone out of the tabernacle, yet they prophesied in the camp. They were not from the right priestly class. And the young man, busy, ran and told Moses and said, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. So Joshua, the up-and-coming boss, Moses' assistant, one of his choice men, answered and said, Moses, my Lord, forbid them. Or let me kill them for doing the wrong thing. Then Moses said to him, and here's a phrase that Margaret Fell used and George Fox used and find comfort in and found challenge in. And are you jealous for my sake? You think that I'm going to get upset because other people are prophesying? Oh, and listen to the yearning. Oh, that all the Lord's people were prophets and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. That's one of the cores of the covenant. In and out of leadership in the religious society of friends, we have to live into the promise that all the Lord peoples are prophets and that the Lord put his Spirit upon them. That is the inclusive mandate of the Holy Spirit. That is the clause that doesn't allow us to exclude. It doesn't allow us to exclude in the business of carrying authority, which is a lot more than not excluding who can come in and out of our doors. And then I leave you today with something I've shown you before. This is not so much, it's in this part of the text is a commandment. It's the root of the covenant. It's the reason why I am a member of the Religious Society of Friends. It's a reason why I know that I don't do it alone. For this commandment, which I command you today, it's not too mysterious for you, nor is it far off. It is not in heaven that you should say, who will ascend into heaven for us and bring it to us that we may hear it and do it? Nor is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. You ought to have plenty of cravings in your heart. Today, think about the Religious Society of Friends. Think about the covenant. and think about a new urgency for the covenant, climate, sharing the world, anti-racism, stopping the horror, economic inequality. What is your covenant? What is our covenant? And join me, friends, desperately saying that I will not let you go until you bless me.
Blessings to you, Benigno.
Let the people do their last experience of a little church this time around. Tomorrow we will ask the Spirit for a lot of help and see what it does with us when we stay together after the message. Go well, friends.